Black rain is reportedly falling over Tehran. Not as a metaphor, but according to footage and accounts circulating online, dark clouds mixed with smoke from burning fuel facilities appear to be drifting across the skyline. Local reports describe oil-soaked residue falling with rain after major fires erupted at energy sites across Iran, following waves of military strikes that have been widely discussed in international media. If those reports are accurate, the environmental consequences alone could affect millions. Tehran is a city of nearly 9 million people, and when large fuel depots burn for days, the smoke and chemical residue can spread far beyond the original blast sites. Images shared by regional outlets show thick plumes rising above industrial areas, turning daylight skies dark and filling the air with ash. Meanwhile, in Washington, the political reaction has been just as dramatic. In an interview with ABC News journalist Mary Bruce, Donald Trump was asked about the growing tensions and the potential risks of escalation. According to that interview, Trump suggested he was not overly concerned about the situation, describing the conflict as something manageable and temporary. Those comments immediately sparked debate among political analysts and foreign policy experts. Because what is unfolding right now is not just another regional clash. If the reports from governments and international news organizations are correct, the conflict has already disrupted activity around the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important maritime corridors on the planet. Roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply moves through that narrow passage. Any sustained disruption there can send shockwaves through global energy markets, affecting everything from fuel prices to shipping costs and even grocery bills in countries thousands of miles away. At the same time, regional alerts have reportedly been issued across several countries in the Middle East, including areas near Tel Aviv as well as parts of Manama and Kuwait City. Officials in those countries have not always confirmed the exact nature of the incidents being reported, but defense forces across the region have been placed on higher levels of readiness. Each new development adds another layer of uncertainty, and every retaliatory step risks widening the conflict even further. But what makes this moment particularly volatile is the speed of escalation. Events that once unfolded over months are now happening within hours. With satellite imagery, social media footage, and real-time television coverage, military operations become global news almost instantly. That constant stream of information increases pressure on leaders and can make diplomatic off-ramps harder to find. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down 3 developments from the past several days that analysts say could shape where this crisis goes next. These moments, from television interviews in Washington to statements from officials in Tehran, help explain why the geopolitical landscape today looks far more unstable than it did just a week ago. Think about it this way: if a country experiences repeated cycles of escalation, temporary pauses, and renewed conflict, how many times would leaders trust that the next pause will actually hold? That question is now central to the strategic decisions being made by governments across the region. So let's rewind the timeline, because the speed of this crisis has buried the sequence of events that actually matter. According to investigations and reporting from outlets including Reuters, CNN, and the New York Times, recent strikes have targeted a range of locations inside Iran, including military infrastructure and energy facilities. Some reports have also raised questions about damage to civilian areas, though details remain contested and investigations are ongoing. Following those incidents, Iranian officials have argued that the country responded in what they describe as self-defense. At earlier stages of the crisis, Tehran signaled openness to temporary pauses in hostilities, but more recent statements suggest a shift in tone. In interviews broadcast on American television, including appearances on Meet the Press, Iran's foreign minister indicated that Tehran may be less willing to accept short-term ceasefire arrangements unless broader guarantees are established. That statement alone represents a significant change in the diplomatic landscape. Because Washington's strategy, according to many analysts, has often relied on the assumption that sustained pressure would eventually push Iran toward negotiations. Instead, the current signals suggest Tehran may be preparing for a longer confrontation. Meanwhile, political messaging inside the United States has continued to intensify. Lindsey Graham appeared on multiple television programs discussing the conflict and praising Trump's leadership during the crisis. His comments about expanding pressure on adversaries and confronting hostile governments generated strong reactions across social media and political commentary programs. At the same time, coverage by Fox News and other networks has drawn attention after viewers noticed discrepancies in broadcast footage during coverage of a dignified transfer ceremony for fallen American service members. The network later issued a clarification describing the issue as an inadvertent production error. For families of service members, the focus remains on honoring those who lost their lives. The names of the soldiers whose remains were returned home were read publicly during the ceremony, a moment that many viewers described as a solemn reminder of the human cost of war. And while political debates continue in Washington, leaders across the Middle East are now calculating what happens next.